What are you doing here in the middle of the forest? You know what? Now that I have you, we should talk about environmental communication, maybe some viral marketing, viral media, World Wildlife Fund, Naked Philanthropist. I have the place just for us to talk. Let's go to the chair. Well, thank you for joining me here in the middle of the woods to talk about something I know you're passionate about, and after this semester I've become more passionate about, and that's environmental communication. And so to break down first and just go through what I'm going to talk about throughout this presentation or video, I'm going to break down the paper I wrote earlier this semester and kind of go into the nuance of that and just the different examples of viral marketing, and then also give a brief definition of what I think viral marketing to be. I'm then going to talk about the overall conclusion from my paper and the opinion that came out of that and what I want to see from environmental groups out of this. I believe there are markets that environmentalists are missing and that they are kind of really focusing in on just boxing in the environmentalists to being one person. So let's first start with my paper. I compared the World Wildlife Fund's emoji campaign, where every time you tweeted an endangered species emoji, they donated a certain amount of money to that campaign, and it was great. They raised a good amount of money, but I compared that to our friend, the Naked Philanthropist. She was selling nude photos of herself on Twitter and online, and she was taking all of those proceeds and donating them to the Australian Wildfire Relief Fund. And I know the Australian Wildfire Relief seems like it was so long ago, because the way our news cycle is, it's 24/7. We've talked about that, but I think it's valuable to look at just how much money she raised compared to the World Wildlife Fund. She raised just over $1 million in around 3 days. But I believe that while these campaigns were both trying to achieve a goal of getting greater environmental harmony and getting greater environmental justice out there, the World Wildlife Fund campaign really slipped just because it seems to me they were targeting just such a small group of people compared to what the Naked Philanthropist was doing, where anyone could jump in on that campaign. Of course, one of them did way better than the other one. One particular reason for that was the virality of it. That's where we're going to switch to just talking about the Naked Philanthropist and how viral she went. Because it's not every day you see someone selling illicit photos of themselves to help the environment, to help the world. And so the shock factor of that took over the media cycle and the news cycle and really social media in general. And I followed the hashtag and I just saw how many responses and how many people were on her side and just saying how great it was. They were drawn to the virality, but they were drawn to the shock factor and just how unusual this campaign was. And I believe that's what helped her the most. It was a combination of just right place, right time, where she was doing a great thing by helping the Australian wildfires, but she was also using her knowledge and her understanding of social media and combined them to put together, really, in my mind, a perfect campaign. And this is just one individual. Imagine if an organization like the WWF or Oceans First or any of those could partner with, I'm not saying someone who sells nude photographs, but someone who has a little shock factor and can bring a little bit of oomph to this environmental communication and to this viral marketing landscape and really change it to make it so it's more friendly for environmentalists. And they no longer feel like they have to go after the typical granola environmentalists, where they can go out and partner with a company like Red Bull and put on an extreme sports event that's zero waste, that's green, that they recycle. That's where we're going to shift into viral marketing and viral media and just what it means to go viral. Because in the early to mid 2000s, we had this idea of viral commercials. And the first wave of virality, it was a talk fact. It was, how many people are getting together at the water cooler to talk about this the next day. It wasn't view heavy. And then when social media started to really come forward, it started to become how many views these things got. And then we moved into the social media age, where everything can come viral in the drop of the hat. Anybody can go viral now, and I think that's the hardest part about defining viral marketing and viral media, as well as to create a concrete plan on how to go viral. But viral marketing now and viral media is hard because, as we've discussed and as I said before, we are in that 24/7 news cycle. And then recently, in talking about viral marketing and viral media, we've seen this term, or at least I've seen this term, break the internet. Each time something goes that viral, people are very, very quick to give it another category. So the conclusion of my paper was mainly focused on getting these environmental marketers and advertisers to start branching out, start thinking outside of the box and doing really wild campaigns that grabbed people's attention. I think people want to put in really not a lot of effort and say that they made an impact. And I think that's something that environmentalists and these marketers could use to their advantage when it comes to viral marketing. There's so many public spaces where people like the WWF can partner with, big companies or just with people in general. And we live in a social media age where there are so many, quote unquote influencers who have millions of followers and subscribers, people like Casey Neistat who have over 1 billion views on YouTube. Like, that is insane, and that is the kind of virality and the kind of easy access that these environmental groups need to use. But I'm just saying, there's people who have the reach that some of these organizations don't have, that if used correctly, done in a brand deal or something like that, could reach millions of people and make an impact. And a lot of these influencers, sell their merch. It would be so easy to just have a green line of merch, partner with WWF, make it out of recycled materials, and each part of the purchase goes back to an environmental campaign. And that's easy. I just came up with that sitting here now. Like, it is easy to go viral, and it is easy to make an impact on the world positive. These organizations have to get themselves out of these predetermined boxes where they're reaching out to just one type of person. I think they need to take a step back and see that their target audience and demographics is a wide spread of people. And it's weird that something like this pandemic makes us take a step back and realize just how fragile our landscape is. Another idea I literally just came up with sitting here was using the pictures of Venice and using the pictures of smog-free LA to show just how much impact us humans have on the environment. So I think there are so many campaign opportunities that could be taken advantage of. It's just hard now. People don't want to be labeled as environmentalists. There shouldn't be a negative connotation to being an environmentalist. When it comes to viral marketing and viral media, there are two ways to look at and engage with it. And that's by looking at the dollar signs associated with it or by looking at the views. But they both have their downfalls, because if you're measuring just in money, I mean, great, it raised a lot of money, but that doesn't mean it had a reach. It doesn't mean it reached its maximum potential of people. But when it comes to views, you know directly how many people saw it. Along with the campaign, there has to be a happy medium between dollar signs and views and people reach, where if you can make a graph and just make it right in the middle of people reached and money made, that is these environmental organizations' cash cow. It's perfect. Right there. World Wildlife Fund emoji campaign didn't fit. In comparison, the Naked Philanthropist, yes, she did a lot better than the WWF. But both are still reaching a great mass, and both also were easy ways for people to get involved. That just the virality of the philanthropist made it just easy to share and made it easy to be a part of. I think the best viral things are spur of the moment. You take advantage of the tools at your disposal, how little they may be, and you make something great out of it. And I think that's something environmental organizations need to do. I think their marketing teams need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, all right, well, this event is happening on this day. What can we do to do some guerrilla marketing? Or how can we get involved in that? I worked for a full-scale music festival professional cycling race in downtown Denver. And I was in the main command post, and I was working directly with the organizer. And while we tried to make it a zero-waste environment, we didn't have environmental groups sitting there in our meetings. We didn't have environmentalists sitting even booths up of being like, hey, this is recycling, this is compost, help us out. There are a lot of easy steps that environmentalists can take to be viral in person and viral online. There are a lot of good ways to go viral. There are a lot of good things that come out of this online social media marketing. And it's really hard to pinpoint down the best ways for an organization to do this, because each organization has their own set of values, their own tactics, and their own game plans to all of it. But for environmental organizations to create viral marketing and viral media and to reach the max amount of money along with the max amount of eyes, they need to start doing things that are out of the ordinary, that surprise people, that when you click on a link, you weren't expecting. I think it's also important to note that this virality is not necessarily only on these environmental organizations, because we're all in this together, because this is our shared planet. So I think if all of us start thinking in this viral marketing mentality, and how do we get more people to care about the environment, then it makes the job easier for these environmental organizations, because the burden is not just on their shoulder. If we're all in this and we're all acting as a team, I think we can come to an understanding of how much this world should mean to all of us. When I open it for this thing from an environmental organization, I don't want any of my expectation to be what it actually is. Because I think once they achieve that, we are all guessing what they're going to do next. And if we can't guess what they're going to do next, they have us perfectly, because they can get us to donate, they can get us to click and share if these pieces of media are just really well done and are not the norm for the environmental groups. So my nice actual good camera setup died in the middle of me filming my conclusion. But my main point I was trying to get across was that I just want to be shocked. I want the norms to be broken, and I just think that's the best way for these environmental organization groups to get their messages across, by throwing out tweeting emojis and thinking more toward the shock factor of this naked philanthropist. I just think there's an entirely untapped world for these environmental groups to use when it comes to viral marketing and viral media. But I think the key to success here is partnering with big name people, whether those be celebrities, influencers, athletes, whatever, and just to get the message across, to get it in a spectrum where the most eyes will see and the most dollar signs will be reached. So thank you for listening. Sorry, I just had to move from a nice camera to my old iPhone, but I hope my message came across clear, and this is me creatively communicating about environmental communication. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the semester.